Thank you so much for tuning in to Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood.
Welcome back to Mom Jeans, the podcast. I am one of your hosts, Lisa, and I'm a girl mom to 2 girls.
And I'm Danielle. I'm a boy mom, stay-at-home mom, and a military spouse.
Woo, nailed it.
Yeah, I know. Did well.
Yay. So this week we found, actually my brother sent it to me, oddly enough. He doesn't have kids, but he sent me something he found about a study that a school in Essex, UK, did of taking phones away from kids for 21 days. And I think these kids were around 12 years old. Danielle's going to pipe in a little video so you can hear and see what we saw. And then we will give you some stats and then discuss it.
Perfect. So here goes my technology expertise.
Guys, it's my baby.
That's sad,
It's
Leona.
like a baby.
No, that is sad.
We're following the Stanway School in Essex as they take part in our total phone ban experiment.
I think that you'll probably find that some, where their lives revolve around it, they're going to find it near to impossible.
How you feeling, Liana?
A little bit sad.
A little bit sad.
It's my life.
I'm actually really excited.
Are you? Great.
I sort of feel like it's going to be like a weight off my shoulders almost.
It's like taking everything that you find fun and that you do away from you for 21 days. It's annoying.
I'm already bored out of my mind. The last resort is me having to read a book.
When we're not playing with him, he's just like...
And it's just repetitive.
Oh, it's constant.
The noise is just dum, 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 dum.
The students haven't found parting with their devices easy.
My phone! Oh, come back to me. It would be so weird not having a phone until you're like 18. My dad got his first phone at 18. And that's kind of crazy.
Whilst the smartphone-free existence has its challenges, many of the kids are now starting to feel the benefits.
I'm a lot more active than usual. We've been playing board games, going out for a bit and just having fun.
I've quite enjoyed not having a phone, and I've really enjoyed being more sociable.
When I'm coming home and sort of spending more family time, when I look at a phone, it just seems a bit weird, really. My sleep's better. I think I'm more sociable, concentrate better and sleep better. In lessons, I don't know why, but I'm more focused. I have felt less anxious without my phone. I haven't had any anxiety or panic attacks. I think it's gone really well not having a phone.
I definitely think I'm going to delete, TikTok.
Really?
Yeah. I usually get quite worried before I go to bed.
Yeah.
And I'm still suffering with that. But it's
Yeah.
I suppose it's kind of helped.
One thing that I noticed early into the experiment was that as the students were coming in, the students who didn't have their phones seemed readier to learn.
The eye contact. Yeah. When you stop them in the corridor, when you're speaking to them, when you're checking up on them, their eye contact skills in just a couple of weeks seem better than they used to be.
Okay. That's really interesting.
It is interesting. So the stats, so that was from, the documentary is on the BBC in Essex, I believe. So I think that's where it is. Is that what you said?
It said Channel 4, but the BBC did, maybe it was the BBC. They did do the article on it. You can check that out.
So so then they interviewed in the article that we found on BBC about this documentary. They had one of the head teachers at the school said he noticed a considerable difference in the students after the experiment. There was a 17% drop in anxiety symptoms in students. The impact was really quick, he said. They slept on average an extra hour a day, which obviously is a huge impact on mental health. There's an 18% reduction in symptoms relating to depression and a 3% improvement in working memory in just 21 days. And then they said that it revealed that 1 in 4 children now use their phones in a manner resembling behavioral addiction, which is kind of scary. That's 25%.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
But 100% believe that, for sure. I thought it was interesting and I was bored. But we're supposed to find that boredom. So then that's when we get creative and like find things to do, or like little, like kids can use their imagination, or just like be, find an outlet other than like staring at your phone. So it's just like, I really hope these kids definitely learn something and continue to limit their screen time. But it's a scary world, like technology. It's great, but it's also like scary.
It's amazing because I keep being like, okay, at the new year, one of my resolutions is going to be on my phone less. And I know I can, I like say, I know I can do it, but I don't know if I can do it. Like, it's so hard because I'm like, oh man, Brandon asked me, he's like, your phone's getting a little rough. Like, it's slow and it's not doing as well as it used to. Like, do you want to get a new phone for Christmas? And I'm like, no, because the idea that I would like it is for it to frustrate me so badly because it's so slow and so bad that I stop using it, right? Like, I stop wanting it. And he, like, I think I said in a previous episode, we go through these periods where I'll give him a hard time for being on his phone so much in front of the girls. And then he'll be so good and he won't bring his phone out anywhere. And I have my phone out all the time then. And then he'll say something to me and then we'll flip. And I'll be the one who's never on my phone and he's always on his phone. It's like, man, it's so hard. It is so hard. And I do think a bit of it ties into our episode last week where we talked about kids don't have their independence anymore and aren't able to have, the freedom to go just play, ride your bike down the street or what have you, because people were so afraid of kids getting kidnapped and kids, whatever happening. But it's like, yeah, I mean, kids don't problem solve, right? Like they used to, because they don't need to. They have their phones and they just constantly talk to their friends on their phones, I'm guessing, and watch TikTok and do all the social media stuff. But it's like, a part of me is like, man, I want to wait as long as I can. But at the same time, I know I'm going to want my kids to have phones so that I can get a hold of them when they're out doing things and I can track where they're at. It's like, yep. And that's exactly the point of kids not having their freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's wild. Cause like, I feel like we grew up before, I wouldn't say before technology, but before we had like cell phones and like really good computers, and not saying that stuff wasn't around, they just weren't as accessible. So I feel like we grew up without guidelines either, like just figuring it out, which is kind of scary too. But I just remember how I felt before my phone and like now after. I definitely am addicted to it. I had deleted Facebook and Instagram and I felt the best that I ever did. Mm-hmm. Because like literally I'll pick up my phone and go straight to Facebook and I don't even mean to. Like I'm going to like Google something or look something up or like pull up a podcast and listen to it. And then I automatically hit Facebook. It's so bad. And the only reason that I re-downloaded it so we could post things on our Mom Jeans account. And so I find myself like falling back into that. Just watching videos. I'm like, okay, I'm strictly going on to post something. And I just go down a rabbit hole and it's so bad, which is very unfortunate. So I want to like delete it all again. I want to delete it permanently, to be honest, because like the people that need to keep up with me do, and I don't really post a whole lot anyways on social media, not too much. So it's just like, I do feel like anxiety. I do feel like I have like undiagnosed ADD or ADHD. And so like it contributes to like procrastination and all the things, not getting anything done. So I spiral. It's really bad.
It's interesting. It's a great point because I had such a hard time with it when I was going through postpartum depression, but didn't know I had that. And I took myself off of social media when my older daughter was 3 months old, I would say. And I didn't get back to it until recently when we started doing a lot of the Mom Jeans stuff and we needed to pick up doing the social media stuff. And I actually will tell you, like, I don't feel like I did back then. Like back then when I would go on it, I'd be like, oh, where's that person traveling to? Because everything I was following was travel stuff because I was a big traveler before I had kids and I still travel now, but it's different, right? Like these people that I was following live the lifestyle of full-time traveling, and I would have so much envy of them, and it really held me back. But I'll tell you, coming back to it, and now my algorithm is recipes, which I love because I try a ton of new recipes all the time because I've really enjoyed cooking. I would never really cook for myself before the girls. Like, I would have my staples that I would always make, and they were never like fancy or good, or they were just get me food because, whatever. And then when the girls came along, like, it's like I have this mindset that if I can't do it well for myself, at least I want to do it well for them, right? And I want to set them up for success. So it's hard because it's like I love the recipes, and I also love some of the parenting stuff that I've seen. Like, the social media started for Mom Jeans before I got into it, but the accounts that everybody who's done the social media for Mom Jeans have followed have been super helpful to me. And I I just have started commenting on people's things that I've seen on our Mom Jeans Instagram to try to get, interaction and to see what people are saying. And it's been really informative, I think, and really helpful. I told Brandon I need to like watch one Instagram video a day of like parenting, because it does get to be a lot, and it's really overwhelming if you let yourself go down the rabbit hole of things. And I shared with you an Instagram the other day that was like, I choose my kids now, and I'm going to, basically abandon all my friends and not see them anymore because I'm choosing my children because they won't be in the stage forever. And I was like, okay, I don't agree with that. Right. Like,
oh yeah, that video I sent that. I was like, I get it. I choose my kids most of the time, but it's okay to take a break and go out with friends.
Absolutely. Like, it's so not like I'm going out every weekend, like maybe once a month, right? Twice a month. But yeah, I understand it, but I do feel like I have a better handle on things after taking almost 2 years or over 2 years off of social media. Like, I do feel like I look at it in a totally different light now. But that being said, like, I have my other vices. Like, I love to sports gamble. And I told Brandon, if it weren't for sports gambling, I could totally abandon my phone. But I love gambling on sports. And to be fair, like, anybody out there that's like, what? I bet like $1. Like, I bet like maybe a max of $5 a day. If I bet $5 in a day, I'm like, ugh, gotta rein it back in. I'm going a little extreme, like, it's not much.
Oh, that's funny.
I put $100 in my account 5 years ago, and I haven't run out of it. Like, that's
awesome.
That's how little I gamble, it's not much, but it is something that I really enjoy. And if I quit that, which I think should be probably a goal of mine, I could quit. I think I could quit my phone, but then it's like, still, like, we would be like, how are we going to communicate? How are you and me going to communicate? Like, how, what if one of the girls is sick and the school needs to call me and get me? Like, do we have a work phone? I don't know. I think we have a work phone, like, at my work.
Yeah. I miss our home phones, the ones that were hooked up to the landline. Like,
yes.
Oh, those are the days. I remember my sister like picking up the other end, or sometimes my mom. I'm like, Mom, get off the phone.
I can hear you.
Yeah, listening on my conversations. But no, I feel like those were the days though, because like people could get a hold of you, or if you weren't home, they couldn't get a hold of you, which is just leave a voicemail. And before, we didn't have voicemail for a long time. And we didn't have call waiting. Yeah, it was a good time.
I still remember when the voicemail would like play throughout your house, and like when we would be home alone, we weren't allowed to answer the phone, and so we would hear the voicemail going through the house, and we'd be like, "Don't say anything; they can hear you through the voicemail," which they couldn't. But we were so scared they were going to know we were home alone because my mom made us terrified of that. Yeah, but like, man, bring it back. Like, I don't know how you go back from this, right? Like, how do you go back from where we're at? But also, have you thought about that at all with Weston? Like, what you would do, or when you would give him a phone?
Yeah, all the time. Probably never. No. It'll probably be more in his teen years. And if it is, it's probably going to be like they do have those phones that you can't get like internet or anything on them, but you can still, I think you can track that. Don't take my word on that, but you'd be able to call people. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I hate to be that way. I don't know. I just, being a teacher, like I've seen how it has changed students in the school. Like they're not engaging, and especially after the COVID years when they stayed home, like they have really, like, socially and I mean academically, but like have went backwards basically.
Yeah.
Just, it's wild to me. I don't know. I even feel that way too. There's times I'll pull out my phone just to avoid eye contact with people, to not, you said you like to talk and I like to avoid people. And I hate that I'm that way. I've always been shy growing up, but now it's just, now I use it as an avoidance, I guess.
It's interesting that you say that, because being on the other end of that, where people whip their phone out so that I won't talk to them, you're like, oh, is that what you're doing? That's so funny.
I know. And I was like, it shouldn't be that way. Like, cause I mean, think about all the like awesome conversations you might be missing out on, or I don't know, like the connection. And we just live in a very disconnected world, and people are lonely. I mean, they're talking to people through text or like email, like who's emailing? I don't know, but like,
oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it's just, but you're not having that like face-to-face interaction. And so I don't know. Technology, yeah. Especially with all this AI stuff coming out and these like Tesla robots and like all the things. I'm like, what? We're like living in the Jetsons or whatever. The Terminator. I don't know.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing, because I know there have been so many people that'll be like, just wait until you're a parent. You'll use the iPad just to make them be quiet at dinner and lunch and whatever. It was interesting. So this weekend, my parents were in town watching the girls for Brandon's Christmas party. And they came Friday and they stayed overnight until Saturday morning. And Hannah woke up super early and I was like, all right, I'm going to take her to Denny's because I need to take her out so that everybody doesn't get woken up in the house. And I took her to breakfast, and we don't go out to dinner. Like Hannah has only a handful of times probably gone out to dinner. And it's just because we don't really go out to dinner as it is. And we never really did. But I was like, you know, every time I do take her out, I'm like, I know this is going to be an adventure, because I never bring anything to entertain her. And I'm okay with that. But I also then have to be okay with the fact that she's going to want to get up and go explore and go do things. And it was really interesting because she got up and she was like walking around, and it was like, I want to say it was like 6:30, 7 in the morning. So there weren't many people in there. So it was fine. I was like, yeah, go ahead, go explore, do whatever you want. And she was, you know, loving it. And then people would come up and talk to her. And she's very social. She's a very social kid. So she would talk to them and be like, what's your name? And it was very, she loves to ask people what their name is. And then she forgets it like 3 seconds later.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, well, me too. Yeah. But it's like, I have seen a lot about like, let your kids be bored, let your kids do those things. But circling back to that, like we've just recently started letting her watch like 10 minutes of a movie every like third day or so. And we sit there with her and she'll just sit there and be like, what's that? What are they doing? What, you know, she's asking a million questions through it. And we really enjoy being able to sit there and like her mind is just blown. Like, what is this? Right. What is that Grinch thing? Like, oh my gosh, you know, it's really interesting. And, you know, it's just a struggle because I know there are a lot of benefits to like Miss Rachel and a lot of other things. But like, I've been listening to Dr. Amen's book. Yeah. And he's like, wait as long as you can to expose them to screen time. And you're like, oh man, it's so hard.
I know. I listened to that podcast where he was talking to the, oh my gosh, unplanned couple that do that podcast. So I finally finished that, and I've listened to other interviews that he's done and like read his book. But yeah, he was talking about like at least like 3, but if you can hold off like longer, because that overstimulation, like it's addictive and it's like not good for your brain. And you know, I can see that. And I feel like we didn't have a limit on TV in the 90s, but also like daytime television, there's nothing on TV anyways. So
The Price is Right.
Right. Days of Our Lives. No, but we, we just went outside and played, and I don't know, it's a different world. And then you hear about these like kids who get their like PlayStation or their gaming console taken away, and they like freak out. There's been a couple of kids that have murdered their parents over it. Like, I'm not even making that up. Like, it's scary, and like how like violent some of these games are, and just how not in touch with reality that they are. And like, yeah, I let Weston watch Miss Rachel here and there, so I'm like not following. So don't think I'm perfect. Like what Dr. Amon says, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. Like, love that. Like, but it's, you can only do what you can do, right? And I don't know. For me, yeah, it's more in moderation, but yeah, we'll watch Miss Rachel sometime, but it's like few and far between.
It's hard. Like he says, you know, you're doing it selfishly if you do it by giving yourself a break. It's like, isn't that okay though? Isn't it okay to get a break?
Right.
Like,
yes,
it's hard though. It's the same thing we talked about, the, you know, the super processed foods, whatever. It's like,
yeah,
would you knowingly poison your kids if you realize that this was poison? Like, some of the stuff in there is poison, right? It's like,
right,
man, that's such a hard,
I know,
thing to look at it that way, right? Like, I think social media is really hard. Like, Brandon will tell you he thinks there's a total benefit to video games. He feels that when he was growing up, that video games taught him a lot, like as far as strategy and the way, like, you have to think your way through certain things, and, you know, the experience if you do like a team soccer whatever game, and you have to like work as a team. It's not bad, you know. He really believes in that and wanting to teach the girls that eventually, right? Like, yeah, I think it's, I you know, I can remember, like, we didn't play a lot of video games because we had Sega, everybody else had Nintendo, so we were like, you know, not cool because nobody knew who Sonic the Hedgehog was. But we would play those games, and we would play them, like, there were a few days I can remember where my eyes were just tearing up because I would play them for so many hours in a row just trying to beat the game. And I was like, this is nutty. This is crazy that I would do it. And now I think that's more normal, right? Like, more kids would spend that much time doing that.
Right. Yeah. I used to play games all the time. My brother had the Sega, I had Nintendo. We had like PlayStation. Eventually I got Xbox in college. I played Call of Duty. I did all the stuff, like, and then one day I was like, you know what? I don't want to play video games anymore. I will say I played the Harry Potter one on Xbox One. That was fun. Or the Hogwarts. It was the Harry Potter. The Hogwarts Legacy. That was fun. But yeah, I had an ex who was addicted to video games, and so like that really like turned me off to video games after that. Which is probably unfortunate for Ryan because I'm like, he knew like me coming out of that. It was so bad. That could be a story for another time. Like, it's interesting. I should write a book about.
Yeah, you should.
It was weird. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how to break the addiction myself so that the girls don't see that. Like, I know they're still at the age where, like, I have the chance to change this before it gets too late. And I still find myself going back to it. Oh, man, now I'm like really like deep in the hole of like, is it time to give up gambling? Because honestly, that is what I think is my biggest holdback on getting rid of my phone. And then like you said, I go to like check on the gambling site to see how I'm doing. And then it's like, oh shoot, somebody's texted me. Oh shoot, there's an email. Oh, yep, there's something on this. There's something on that. I mean, I will say one of the biggest steps for me was turning off notifications. So I turn off notifications for everything except for my texts and calls. So like none of my apps can really notify me, which is really nice because then I'm not like constantly going to check it out. And then I also have moved Instagram and Facebook to not the home screen. They're all over on the side screen. But in the past, when I've even wanted to get that to not even be there, I don't have their icons on any of the screens. So I have to go and search for them on the apps.
Okay.
Which is, like, sometimes I'd be like, I can't, I don't even want to go look for it right now. I'm like, it's crazy to do that. But I will say, like, we're getting to the period now where even the girls are getting old enough where I feel like I don't need to be looking at the monitor as much as I do their monitors. And I need to like move my phone away from the bed because I will inevitably wake up between 1 and 3 in the morning, and then I'll just start scrolling or doing whatever I can be doing. I'm like, this is so dumb. I need to get rid of my phone being right here.
There for a while, I've had it in the bathroom with the alarm really loud.
Yeah.
So I have to get up. I stopped doing that. But yeah, I don't keep it near my head because they say the EMF is bad on your phones.
Yeah.
So like I have it way out of reach.
Nice.
I used to sleep with it right next to me on the bed. I'm like, it's probably why my brain doesn't work. Like fully function. No, it's, and it's just crazy that, so Ryan was listening to a podcast and the guy was talking about how, I don't even know what the conversation was about, but he was talking about like he was going to buy a car and the guy was trying to sell him, I don't know, a minivan or something with all the bells and whistles with like the TVs, and they're like, so you can drive in peace and you don't have to like listen to your kids, and you know they can watch their movies, and you know you can listen to your podcast or whatever it is. And like the guy was like frustrated with this car dealership. He was like, so you want to sell me this vehicle where like my kids can zone out and like not talk to me and like miss everything outside, like that, you know, the world around them. It does. I feel like it sucks you in. Like sometimes I'll be in the car looking at my phone and I'm like, how did we get here? I'm not driving. Ryan's driving, by the way. I'm like, well, how do we like get this like to part of town? It's like wild,
isn't it?
I want to stop. Like I need to stop. But it's funny, like I won't text my friends back for a few days because I'm already overwhelmed and overstimulated. I was like, I don't have time to even think about texting you back. I'm sorry, friends. It's just like my ADD, I think.
I don't think so. I mean, I think like with Hannah, I was really on top of staying up with people and like texting. And then I started to realize like when Aubrey came around, I felt like things weren't so urgent that I had to miss whatever was happening, you know, with them.
Yeah.
And like, I have at times been really good. And what I really need to do is like keep my phone in the room, which I do sometimes. And turn my watch on to do not disturb, because I think then I start to see it on my watch, and then I'm looking at my watch, and then I'm like texting on my watch, which takes forever and it's tons of errors. Right. But it's like, I just need to commit to it. But then like, you know, in your mind, you're like, well, what if something happens to one of my parents and they're trying to get a hold of me and I can't, it's like, man, it's such a bad thing.
Even with my do not disturb or my sleep, if any of my favorites call me, then it'll come through. Like, so, because that's why I would tell. I'm like, if something is like serious, they're going to call me. Hopefully they're not going to text me. Hopefully they call. So no, they'll be able to get through.
Yeah.
But
that's a good point to remember that and to think about that. Like, man, I just want to be able to let go. I do so badly. Like you watch these documentaries and you're like, look at all the anxiety going down, which is a huge problem in kids today. And it's like, how do you stop that? And you want to help them not, man, if you could tell me that something could guarantee my kids wouldn't have anxiety or depression, and I'll do it. Yeah. Tell me what it is. I'll do it. Mm-hmm. It's hard.
Yeah. I know it's a different, I don't know, like cyberbullying and all the things like used to at school before phones, you know, if you're getting picked on at school, it's just at school. But like now it just follows you home. It follows you everywhere. It's a tough time to be a kid. And then like seeing all these things, like models and these Instagram influencers, and I don't know, it's kind of dangerous because again, like these kids if they've not been taught like to find reliable resources, and they're like following their favorite Instagram celebrity and like, oh, you should take this to lose weight or do this to like lose belly fat. I don't know. Just like, and they try these like extreme things. Like it's sad and scary.
I do get why helicopter parents exist. Like I do understand why people want to have that full control. Like I think about like when I was in middle school, I think it was even middle school, as low as middle school, I would go into chat rooms on AOL or Instant Messenger. It was like,
I was too scared to do that.
oh man, I did not.
Yeah.
My parents didn't, I don't think my parents knew about them. So
Yeah.
I would just do them. Like my parents would be upstairs and I'd be downstairs on the computer all by myself, like for hours on hours
Yeah.
in middle school and high school. Like in chat rooms that I had no business being in and seeing and hearing things
Yeah.
I shouldn't have. I do remember my mom
No.
going through my stuff once and seeing something, and she sat me down and was like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I was mortified. I was mortified and was like, how could you look through my stuff? And now you look at it and you're like, oh, you should have shut me down and never let me go back on there after that.
Yeah,
Crazy.
same. My mom went through my text once. It's like, whoops. Nowadays, like, I don't know if you've heard of like Roadblocks. It's like a kid's game. I don't even know what it is, but like these adults are in this chat room what's supposed to be like a kid's platform. And like these people have like showed up at these kids' houses or try to like get them to meet them. So it's like predators like on these like Roadblocks. As innocent as, I don't know how innocent, I've never seen it, but I've heard like really bad things about it. And then even like YouTube Kids, terrible. They like sneak in things. I think their latest one was I forget who it was, but like trying to convince kids to harm themselves. This is a newer one. And then there was one couple years ago, this like scary thing on there, again, trying to get kids to like harm themselves.
What the heck?
Then,
like, why? What benefit is that?
There's just demonic people out there. Another thing I've seen on YouTube Kids, like what will look innocent, like it's Elsa and Spider-Man or something, but it ends up being like pornography, but like cartoon. So it's like, pay attention to what your kids are watching. Like, and for me, like if Weston's watching Miss Rachel, I'm not like far away. Not saying Miss Rachel's bad, but I'm there like interacting with him. Like if he's watching it, and if I'm doing something in the kitchen, I'll be like, if she says, what, put it in. I'm like, put it in. And like, I'm talking, and he gets so excited that I'm watching it with him, or we'll just sit down together. So it's like, we can talk about what's going on. And so to help him understand as much as he can understand as a 21-month-old, but I don't know.
I think it's interesting too. I mean, I know you've talked that you'll likely homeschool, but like I think it's called unschooling. I'm not sure. I follow a girl on Instagram who does, I think she calls it unschooling, but she does web-based teaching. So like a lot of their stuff, and one of the babysitters that we have does that as well. And it's also like that, the article that we read from the BBC, they were talking about all of our homework is on our iPads. All of our schooling is on our iPads. And it's like, there is a benefit to schooling that doesn't do that. Like I'm pretty sure the school that the girls are in now don't do that, but I also don't know that we'll keep them there. But I just love that idea that like they wouldn't do that, you know? Like I learned so much better handwriting than I do texting, you know, or writing things in an email. Like I just have a better memory that way. And that I think that is proven that is a better way to learn and remember. For some reason, maybe it takes longer and that's why, but I don't know. I also like to kind of have kept my kids off of social media, meaning like I don't post pictures of them on social media. There's one picture out there of Hannah that was posted by somebody else, and I like still cringe to this day thinking about it being on there. And I know that's it's like silly, but I think there were
not at all.
There are a few components to it. Brandon is very big on nobody needs to know his personal life. Like nobody he works with needs to know what's going on in his life. Like he likes to keep that stuff really private. And I started to realize that in when I was a golf pro, all of the times I was a golf pro, every place I worked at, everybody was obsessed with my personal life. Like it was like, we were like celebrities to them because we could golf well. And they would always be like, who are you dating? What are you doing? Like, what did you do this weekend? Where are you going to travel next? Da, 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 da. And it's like, why do you need to know all of this? And I think because I'm friends with a lot of them on Facebook, I was like, I don't want them to know what's going on in my kids' lives, but the internet also scares me. People are scary. And I know you can have private stuff, but you know how that goes. Like it just, it irks me, but that being said, that being said, I have baby monitors on both of my kids that can be hacked into. So, like
I have a baby monitor, but it's like nothing can connect to it.
That's nice.
So
that's smart.
I don't know. Yeah. Because again, I'm like, I worry about that stuff, but I have posted like stuff of Weston, and part of me is like, I don't want to, because like AI too, like easily can take your kid's face. I don't know. And like, or some creep, takes the
to
photos.
Be fair, they can do that on like the cameras that are all over the city of like face recognition stuff too. Like, we just live in that world now that unless you're going to completely scrub yourself and go live in the Amazon, like I don't really think you have a chance. We have chance of getting away with that,
No, but it is easy to like download and screenshot like photos and stuff from like Instagram or Facebook. Like it's, I don't know, just creepy people out there. So, and then like other things, talking about AI and technology, like I've heard of like people getting scammed with like their loved ones' voices asking them to send money, and like maybe they fall for it. But this one was like, after I came to my senses, I'm like, my daughter should be upstairs, and then went upstairs and she was there, but they had taken her voice and like somehow like made this conversation sound like her, like very panicky, need money.
Yeah.
It's just
crazy.
Awful. Like,
I know. I hate it. It's like my coworker today kept being like, hello, who's there? Hello. And she was like, I was like, stop doing that. Like I've heard about all those things where you're not supposed to do that. They're just trying to like record your voice, and not good.
Right. Yeah.
So and then we went ahead and decided to do a podcast and tell everybody everything about us, and there's no hiding anything. So
not at all.
Big hypocrites.
Not at all. Yeah. Well, we just do it for fun. We know the risk, I guess.
Yeah. Hopefully.
How old were you when you got a cell phone?
I think I was just trying to think about that. I think I was in high school. And I want to say it was my sophomore year, but it was like a humongous brick phone. Like it was humongous. And I remember keeping it in my locker, and somebody walked by my locker and they were like, what is that? And I was like, they're like, did you bring your home phone with you to school? And I was like, okay. Because everybody had those Nokia phones where you could switch out the plates to different colors.
Oh, yeah.
And I was way behind on that. So my phone couldn't even do I can't remember what that game was. Worm or something.
It couldn't.
Yeah, Snake. It couldn't do that. And everybody was like, what do you do with that thing? And I would try to text people, and it took like an hour because it was T9, and like you had to press the thing 3 times to get to the U, and then you'd be like, oh, I messed up. Start over again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I couldn't
do that
really
without
use
looking.
it. Yeah. I remember and we were limited on how many minutes we could talk on it, and how so I never used it, and I can't I don't even look back now thinking like, oh yeah, I was on my phone a lot in high school, because we weren't. And I remember maybe one class in maybe more than one class, but maybe like a couple of classes all through high school that we used a computer. Like we never used computers in my high school. We did the old fashioned whiteboard up front and learned that way. We didn't really do computer stuff. So I think I was very lucky to grow up in that era. And then when we got to college, very few people would bring their laptops to school or to classes. Like we mostly weren't, most people weren't doing laptops, and maybe until I got to my senior year of college. But yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that was us too. I had the Motorola flip phone, not the Razor. I eventually got the Razor, but
the Razor was the best.
Yeah. The fatter Motorola that had the antenna.
Oh yes.
Pull up.
Yep,
but that was my first phone, and I was 14. And yes, I only had 50 text messages, and I felt like each month my mom had to keep going up and up because I kept going over, and you'd have to pay for extra text.
Yep.
And then Yeah, you could call
Maybe
them nights and
that's the thing
weekends.
to do. Maybe that's the thing to do instead of like go back to like a lower data plan, a lower phone minutes, and
Yeah,
lower
but they
text
don't
message.
have that anymore. Like it's
I
so
think
different. Like
I think they do, right?
no,
Oh,
no, because like iMessage, it's a Wi-Fi thing. Like you can, and then they
yeah,
have those free apps like WhatsApp or
yeah,
that you can text on and stuff. So
yeah.
you can, yeah. I mean, you can get lower data, I think, but that's like for the internet, maybe.
Yeah, I'm
But
okay with
usually
that.
most things are like unlimited, I feel like now.
Yeah, yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to solve the problem, and I don't know
No.
how long I'll be able to withstand. You know, it's interesting. Like I was talking to some moms who had their kids in Montessori all the way through 5th grade, and then decided to move their kids out of Montessori when they went to middle school. And I said, well, how's the transition been? Because we've heard, you know, socially it can be hard because it's a very different system to go to a normal traditional school when you've done Montessori. And they're like, the hardest thing has been for us as the parents because of transitioning to technology. Like our kids use iPads in school now, and they want cell phones because everybody else has cell phones, and they have more independence now, and we want to be able to reach them. And that's been a really hard transition because we worked really hard on not having any of that all those years, all the way until they're, 10 or whatever that age is.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The computers and the stuff in school, it's like as a teacher, it's easy to grade. Like when all my stuff is sent to a platform and I can grade it all right there and then send it back. Like that's really nice. But then again, it's like, okay, well, I've been in classes where I can see everyone's computer screen, like if they're like not the laptops, if they're like the hardwired ones. And so I can click out of if someone's not doing what they're supposed to, I can exit out. Like that was nice. So I had control, but then like with the laptops, I don't have control. So you have to walk around and make sure they're doing what they're actually supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And then there's been a handful of times, middle school and high school, that there's people that are like, this person cannot have a computer whatsoever because they have an issue. They lost their privileges with their computer at home, and then now they can't have it in school because, I mean, if you get what I'm saying, like they're looking at stuff that they shouldn't be looking at, school and home. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is bad. But,
so. It's crazy. Yeah. Well, I think we covered it all and got nowhere of like what we're gonna do. But
no, I don't.
Hard to say.
Yeah. Yep.
Well,
good for these kids. Hopefully,
hopefully they don't go right back to it once they get them back.
Yeah.
But you know how that goes. I know how that goes. I've done it successfully without social media for 2.5 years, and now welcome back. I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard.
Well, let us know what you think. Do you look at your phone a lot more than you would like? And then what do you do with your kids and technology?
And if you have successfully gotten away from your phone, how did you do it? Was there something that tipped the scales for you and got you to do it? I would love to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's days I wish I could I want to delete, like not deactivate. I want to delete Instagram and Facebook and just be gone.
Yeah.
Oh, did you hear that? That was my bedtime. My watch telling me it's bedtime. How would I know it's bedtime without technology?
Great point. I love it.
Thank you. I watch.
That was like you planned that.
I know. Yeah, 8:14, and then at 8:45, my do not disturb, my sleep cuts on.
That's awesome. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to set my do not disturb from like 5 a.m. because that's when Hannah usually wakes up to like 7 p.m. That's when she's down. And then I can do a little bit. But they say for an hour to 2 hours before you go to bed, you shouldn't do any screen.
I know. I always tell Ryan that when he's looking at his fantasy football lineup. And I was like, you should be looking at your screen. Like I'm over there reading my book. He gets so mad at me. I was like, he's like, I'll sleep just fine.
Yeah.
But I was like, you're so tired in the morning. It's probably because you're looking at your phone. And then my phone will go off. No, not normally because it's asleep, but then I'll remember I need to like text you or somebody. But I really do try not to look at it. They also say don't look at it when you first wake up either.
I need to move it away from my bed. Well, let's see if tonight I can do this. Get it out of here. Maybe I'll just leave it here when I go on my trip for Christmas.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Good luck with that.
Thanks.
You can do it.
Yeah, thanks. All right. Till next week.
All right. See ya. And that wraps up another episode of Mom Jeans, trying to fit into motherhood. Thank you again so much for listening to us. And if you enjoyed this podcast, please consider giving us 5 stars so other mothers out there like you can find us and listen. If you would like, you could follow us on any of our socials at Mom Jeans the podcast. If you have questions, would like to send us your birth story, or give us suggestions or things that you would like to hear, please email us at hello@momjeansthepodcast.com. See you next week.